Mathane Makgatho took to the stand this morning at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, which is underway in Parktown. For more, we crossed to our reporter Mbalenhle Mthethwa for the latest then live from the State Capture Inquiry. Mbalenhle, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I suppose then the sentiment here is just around how much of the procurement process, of the contracts, of the spending at Transnet was perhaps in question today. Won't you just share some details?
Good afternoon, Arabile. One of the other issues that has really taken center stage before the Commission of Inquiry is how the Treasury Department, the internal Treasury Department at Transnet, was sidelined in the interest of a Gupta-linked company called Regiment's Capital. Now, we heard the testimony of Mathane Makgatho, who was once a group treasurer at Transnet, and she was basically heading up this department that was allegedly sidelined in the interest of Regiment's Capital. Now, she started off her testimony by basically detailing the kind of expertise they had within the department, and she says that they had a team of 40 people, some of them with more than 30 years experience and some holding MBAs. Now, we've heard on many occasions about how they were sidelined and how Regiment's Capital was appointed to provide financial services, financial advisory services rather, and she basically explains to the Commission that she didn't know how to interact with Regiment's Capital and how they were basically adding value at Transnet. And she says this became a point of which they argued intensely with Anoj Singh, who was then Group Chief Financial Officer, over the Regiment's involvement at Transnet. And she tells the Commission that she eventually told Anoj Singh that they were his advisors and not necessarily her advisors. Another issue that has also come up, which has also featured quite prominently before this Commission, is the acquisition of 1,064 locomotives. Now, we've heard about cost escalations and so on relating to that acquisition. But at this stage, we have heard of further of how the Treasury Department was sidelined even further in terms of participating meaningfully in the negotiations of this very same contract. We heard Mathane speaking about how Anoj Singh had given an instruction preventing her from going into a data room, the data room which basically housed some of the tender documents which relate to the 1064 locomotive acquisition. And she says that she ignored that instruction, preventing her from entering the data room to read over these tender documents. And basically, she said procedure stipulates that she was meant to go in and read up on these documents so that they would be able to then negotiate effectively as the Treasury Department and also to protect Transnet against any risks. But unfortunately, the plan was to prevent her from actually doing that and participating meaningfully. But she went ahead and read these documents and reported back to Anoj Singh, to which Anoj Singh responded by saying that he was satisfied. However, she also told the Commission of how she was then sidelined and she was not brought in during crucial negotiations relating to this acquisition. And she says that she got the sense that she was not wanted and that Anoj Singh at the time had preferred the assistance of Danny Smith. And she says that she cannot understand why that was the case, but she gave him the authority to decide and to have a preference as to who he wanted to participate in this acquisition and in these negotiations because she did report to him. And she also says that she also got the sense that he didn't want to be questioned. He didn't want any of the decisions he made relating to this acquisition to be questioned because she says that she didn't take things lying down. She generally asked questions about certain decisions. But, just before the break, we also got the sense that she was going into detail as to, some of the prepayments. We've heard some of the witnesses talking about quite briefly about how these prepayments that were paid to to some of these companies were basically put Transnet under financial strain. So we expect it to continue along these lines after the break. But for now, it's back to you in studio, Arabile.
Yeah, Mbalenhle Mthethwa, a comprehensive summary there of just how proceedings have gone. Thank you so much for your time there, our very own Mbalenhle Mthethwa. Right.